Since 2003, I've run over 27,000 miles using low heart rate training. And one thing I can tell you is that I still find it tricky to figure out exactly what that low heart rate training should be. Today we're going to unpack the mistakes that I've made along the way, because if you can work out your heart rate properly for you, it makes a huge difference to how effective your training can be. To prove the power of the first one, which is also arguably the most important, I'm going to take you and my business partner Brad here through this step by step and teach you what I've learned in all those thousands of miles.
That's awesome. And by the end of this video, you'll not only know why low heart rate running is so powerful, but you'll also know where you're probably going wrong. Let's dive into the first one, Lindsay.
A lot of people think low heart rate training, great. I'll just keep it super low and that'll be perfect for recovery. Well, there is such a thing as having a heart rate that is too low. When we are doing low heart rate training, we need it to be low, but it also needs to be high enough so that we can drive aerobic adaptation, because that is what we are trying to do. So while it's really important to make sure that we are training easy enough and keeping our heart rate low, especially when we are starting out, it's also important to make sure that you know what that heart rate needs to be for you. So Brad, when you're returning from injury or illness or just starting out, then keeping a really low heart rate can be really great to help stimulate that recovery. But to get the full benefits of training to low heart rate, it needs to be high enough so that you drive that aerobic adaptation.
All right, that's pretty cool, Lindsay. But I think the question is, how low is too low? And surely it's not the same for everyone.
No, Brad, and that is actually the key there, is that heart rate is actually extremely individual, and you need to know how to work that out for you. Of course, there are some general formulas that do work quite well, like maximal aerobic function, or MAFing, as developed by Dr. Phil Maffetone, and those give you a good general idea and are probably great when you start out. But as you are going along, to make sure that it's right for you, we do want to work out what the numbers are for us. So to give you an example, Brad, if you're starting out and you want to use heart rate training, then I would use something like MAF, because that'll ensure that you are running easy enough not to hurt yourself and building up a little bit of strength in soft tissues, reducing your risk of injury. But once you've been going for a couple of weeks or so, then you want to do something quite hard and try and figure out what your threshold or maximal heart rate is, so that after that, you can then train to about 75 to 85% of threshold, or in the region of 70 to 80% of maximum heart rate, to drive that aerobic adaptation.
All right, that's brilliant, Lindsay. It sounds like it's a game changer, and I'm guessing it all boils down to accurate data. What's the best way to get the numbers in?
Brad, 100% right. So the important thing here is that we have to be able to trust the numbers, and that means getting a chest strap. It can be a little bit inconvenient with chafe, etc., but honestly, most people use wrist-based heart rate because it's more convenient. But unfortunately, that data is easily corrupted, a lot of interference, or having to wear it perfectly, and the data just isn't as clean as we would like it to be. So in this instant, data really matters. Use a chest strap, because bad data leads to bad decisions, which will compromise your training.
All right, so we've got the tools, and I'm guessing it's not as simple as just following the numbers. Are there any other factors that come into play here?
Absolutely, Brad. So it's important to understand that heart rate is impacted by factors both environmental and internal. So heat and cold, caffeine, stress, both physical and mental, will all have an impact on your heart rate. So think about having a super tough week at work where everything is going wrong. That stress is going to play into your training, and it's going to impact your heart rate numbers. Sometimes we need to respond to that stress and therefore adapt our training, but other times when we know what's causing that stress, we can actually add a few numbers onto the heart rate and let how we feel guide us, so that we still get the impact that we need out of training. And then there's a really important thing that happens during training, particularly on long runs, where we actually get a decoupling of the heart rate. It's known as cardiac drift. So in response to dropping blood volume or high temperatures in the environment, as we go, our heart rate gets higher and higher relative to our intensity. And again, in scenarios like that, what I try to do is to go, right, in my first 45 to 60 minutes of exercise, use heart rate to set the tone and the intensity, and then later in the run, you run according to how you feel.
Okay, so it definitely plays a big role in training. I'm guessing it plays a massive role when it comes to recovery too.
Absolutely. So you can use heart rate to monitor your recovery and make decisions about what sessions you should be doing. And we can use this both with resting heart rate as well as what we call HRV, or heart rate variability. So when we look at resting heart rate, that'll stay fairly stable over time. And as we are put under stress, be that from training or be that from some external factor like getting sick or maybe pressure at work, your heart rate will slowly drift up in response to that stress. We don't worry so much when it's around about 4 or 5 beats up. If it goes up more than that, we want to adjust the training that we are doing. And then heart rate variability, which most of the modern units are now able to track while you are sleeping, but it's the opposite. A high heart rate variability means that you're adjusting well to the training stresses, and a low heart rate variability means that you want to make some adjustments.
All right, Lindsay, when it comes to sort of different terrains and interval training, I'm guessing it takes a while for your heart rate to catch up.
Yep, Brad, I mean, it feels like you should be giving this video, but you're spot on again. There is a delay. It takes anywhere between 45 seconds and 2 minutes, depending on the intensity, for your heart rate to actually catch up and represent what is happening inside of you. So when you get to a hill, for example, if you don't self-adjust, you'll suddenly find yourself halfway up and your heart rate is much higher than you would like it to be. And similarly, if you're doing intervals, if you're waiting for your heart rate to catch up, you probably won't do them hard enough. So you do have to be a little bit careful about how you use it and learn to use it. And of course, there are some innovations taking place at the moment. Sunto, for example, are using HRV for during exercise to try and help people to figure out those training intensities, both easy and on the harder end. But as with all new things, we still need to let that technology and the research catch up.
Wow, that sounds super interesting, and it sounds like there's a ton of potential when it comes to HRV, Lindsay. But let's take a step forward now to races. And is heart rate something you should be keeping an eye on when it comes to racing?
Now, so Brad, I wouldn't use heart rate during races. There's just too many things that impact heart rates. And as we spoke about earlier, things like stress and caffeine, and in this case, you're running a race, so tension or nerves and excitement all lead to that heart rate being elevated. So I wouldn't even look at heart rate. It can be a little disconcerting if you look down and your heart rate's suddenly 20 beats higher than it normally is and you haven't even started. So you don't have to turn heart rate off, but I would hide it, and you really need to teach yourself to run a little bit on feel, because the best way to perform in a race is knowing your body and running on how you're feeling at that point in time.
All right, brilliant. You might be wondering what's next. Well, if you want to dig really deep into heart rate training and how to use it to optimize your performance, then be sure to join Lindsay and I. We're hosting a free Faster Beyond 50 masterclass where we'll show you exactly how to recover from sessions faster so you don't feel tired or fatigued all the time, so that you can run faster and injury-free well into your 50s, 60s, and beyond. You can click on the link on screen right now to save your seat. We're looking forward to seeing you there.